Well, good people, once again, you are in tune to the Dre Morset podcast, and I am Dre Morset, and this is Dre Morset Shorts. I told you guys that I will always try to bring you as much content as possible in between big episodes. So this is one of my episodes of Shorts. This episode is going to be no more than 5 to 7 minutes long. Just shorts to keep you informed and also keep me in the loop of showing you content and talking about things and keeping you thinking. So let's not even waste no time. Let's get straight to it. There's one thing that I want to talk about, and this is what I want to talk about is black folks. This is directly to black folks, not all black folks. Let's make sure that that's understood because people are not understanding that part of the dialogue. Is it's not directed towards everybody, but a majority of black folks. We have got to stop looking at seeing a therapist or going to counseling as a bad thing, like something's crazy about you. Black folks refuse, a lot of black folks refuse to go get counseling because they don't want to be perceived as, oh man, I ain't crazy. I ain't going to see no counseling, man. Ain't nothing wrong with me. But in actuality, there is a lot wrong with us. We have seen a lot of trauma in our lives. We've seen a lot of trauma in the black community. We've seen friends get murdered. We've seen abusive relationships. We've seen parents on drugs. We've seen a lot of different things, a lot of violence. So you don't think that created some type of trauma that's hidden deep in it, or you don't think that trauma from the things that we saw in our lifetime, whether it was in whether you lived in an upscale neighborhood and you had friends that were in a different area or vice, whatever it may be, we all have some type of trauma. And to be able to address that, to be able to address the trauma that you have, it makes you a better person. You can't walk around for the rest of your life not observing what is wrong with you based on some past trauma. So black folks have a tendency when you say, well, go see a therapist or go to a counselor. No, I ain't doing that, man. I ain't doing that. I ain't crazy. What I need to see a counselor for? I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Okay. Let me break this down to you real quickly. And this is not to all black folks, but I've heard this a lot. Going to see a therapist based on a lot of trauma that we have experienced can work wonders. I'll give you a couple of examples. I got a client of mine who was in a relationship and they were going to see a therapist as a couple and they were working out their differences. But even still, once they broke up, my client was still going to see a therapist because there was a lot of things that he was doing that he wasn't aware that he was doing. And it speaking to someone about those issues or somebody pointing out those issues made him a better person and made him not want to stop going to see the therapist. It improved his life. It improved his mindset. So that derogatory way of thinking when it comes to how a lot of black folks see going to a therapist is corrupt and it doesn't make sense. Another example is me. When I met my girl in 2019, I was arrogant. I had a way about myself. I felt like I was around a lot of women, so I had my way, and I kind of, you know, was in a certain way of how I acted and how I talked, and she ended up leaving. I had to figure out what was going on with me that made me demonstrate certain behaviors. So I went to get counseling and I learned a lot. I learned a total amount of about how I am, why I do some of the things that I was doing, what things may have caused me to be a certain way. And I felt good about going to see the therapist every Wednesday. It didn't matter how much it cost. It was helpful for me, which in turn made me look at myself, which in reality brought my relationship back to a good space. And is probably one of the main reasons my woman had came back to me. So when we as black folks say, oh man, I ain't crazy. I ain't going to see no concert. You can't have that mentality because you have no real idea what consultation or what a therapist can actually talk to you about that makes you feel better. There may be things inside you that you didn't know exist that cause you to act a certain way. We gotta stop thinking that this negative way of viewing certain things that we need necessary in our lives to be able to improve. So black folks, we got to stop thinking that going to see a therapist or going to get consultation is a bad thing. You're not crazy, but we all have some kind of issues that may hinder our lives and hinder how we treat people and hinder how we are at work or how we are with our friends. Man, that is reality. That doesn't make you crazy. That makes you aware to say, I want to improve. But when you don't look at it like that, that makes you kind of, I don't want to use the word crazy, but it makes you like, really? That's not reality. So black folks, come on. If we have all this trauma in our lives that we haven't dealt with, that some of us haven't dealt with, there are therapists that can help you deal with that. I don't care what you think. A therapist, sitting down with a therapist, and the one thing that I learned, this is the one thing I learned. When I was married, when me and my ex-wife had went to see a therapist, and the one thing that I understood is that person was 100% neutral. The individual wasn't on the side of my ex-wife, and she wasn't on the side of me. She was on the side of information and how to distribute that information to help each individual get better at what their faults was. So black folks, come on, man. We gotta have a better sense of mindset to look and view things that are beneficial and helpful for us down the road. And that way we'll get better as a unit. Remember that, please. This was a quick short in the Dre Morset podcast about black folks. We need to get therapy, man. We need that. We've been through a lot of trauma. So don't think you're crazy by going to see a therapist. It will actually help you improve you and maybe your whole family as a whole by initiating going to see a therapist. Again, understand that, people. We're not crazy. You're not crazy because you go see a therapist. You're actually in your best mindset to realize, hey, I need to go see a therapist to get some of these things out. So black folks, stop having this derogatory way of thinking when it comes to a therapist. We don't need that. We need to continue to improve and get better as people. This has been the Dre Morset podcast, and this is one of the Dre Morset shorts, quick episode. I'm going to continue to bring you content. I continue to want to see people respond in the comments. I continue to welcome anybody new subscribers. We're moving up the ladder. I'm at 258 subscribers. Let's get to where we need to be before the end of the year. And the end of the year, our goal is 1,000 subscribers. I thank everybody, and you're very, very much appreciated. Motivation.